This is on the Lorex now. This is a story of a object or person, if you want to call it that, about the environment. And I said to the last class when I was talking about him, this, where you're sitting right now, is the story on the environment. Because this was just a trash and gravel removal right here where you are. This was the location. And it became what it is now, which we like to think is a pretty nice piece of land. I think I'll have time to let you know the story on that. At the end of the town, and the grickle grass grows, and the wild smells of sour, and when it blows, and the birds sing, except old crows, none of them are singing, and the street is called the Lifted Lorex. That's the name of the street. Some of you up in the back, I know you're going to have trouble seeing it, but I got to get it around so you can see a little bit of it too. If you don't see it, you know, you would say, what am I doing? What's he doing up there, the crazy old guy? Okay, here we are. I'll just... And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, and you look deep enough, and you can still see today where the Lorex once stood, just as long as he could, and before someone lifted the Lorex away. So the Lorex gets taken away. What was the Lorex? Why was he there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere? From the far end of town where the grickle grass grows and the Onceler still lives here? I'll ask him, he'll know. So up there in that house, he's going to find out from this guy. It's not a nice man up there. Here we are again. I need you good drawers. If you're a good drawer, you could draw. You could do this. Yeah, okay. No bragging, but I think you could. You won't see the Onceler. Don't knock on his door. He stays in the lurkum on the top of his store, and he lurks in the lurkum, cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes and muffed moof. And from a special dank midnight in August he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells how the Lorex was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to... What do you think about it? What's the word? No, okay, don't tell him. Pay. If you're willing to pay. He wants money for this. He wants cash. And maybe something else besides cash. He's an odd duck, this guy. On the end of the rope, he lets the pail down, and he lets you toss in 5 cents and a nail and a shell from a great-great-great-grandfather snail. So that's the price to get this guy to talk. Things are pretty tough in his life if that's what he's doing, but that's what he's doing. So, here it is. He's taking the... Of course, there aren't any snails around there, so he's got a little trouble. Then he pulls up the pail and he makes a careful count, and if you've paid him the proper amount, then he hides what you've paid him away in his snub and the cigarette strange hole of the grivel glove, and then he grunts, I will call you by whisper my phone, and the cigarettes I will tell you are for your ears alone. Now, what the reason for that is he doesn't want other people to hear about this because they haven't paid for it. You paid for it. You gave him the snail. So he's lowering down. Did anybody ever do this? Anybody have a telephone that, you know, by the wire? You know, you put 2 tin cans, don't tell them, 2 tin cans together, and you put them apart, and then you talk into the tin can. Private phone, one-party line. You got money. Lace curtain. Well, that's what this is. It's not a real phone like you have in your house. He talks into the tube. Blows into the tube. Talks into the tube. Slip. Don't slip in the whisper my phone to your ear, and the Onceler whispers are not very clear, and since they have come down through the smirgly hose and the sounds as if he had a smallish bees in his nose. And now I will tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorex got lifted and taken away, all started way back, such a long, long time back. Now, instead of dark and dingy, you're going to see bright and colorful, because that's the way it was. At one time, before they were taking gravel out of this land, it was beautiful land, beautiful. And then the trucks come in and they dig in it. Way back when the days when the grass was still green and the pond was still wet and the clouds were still clean and the songs of the swanny swans rang out in space, and the morning I came to this glorious place, and I first saw the trees, the truffle trees, and the bright color tufts of the truffle trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. So these are called truffle trees. And they're very pretty, evidently. I've never seen them. I've never been there. You've never been there, have you? No. Well, it's just, you never know. You never know who's in the audience. So here they are. Okay. He's never been there. And under the trees I saw a brown babaloots. That's quite a name, isn't it? Babaloots. And it's frisking about in the babaloot suits. And they played in the shade of the tuffalo fruits. From the Ripple pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. So now we've got the babaloots and we've got the fish. Uh-oh, here comes the Onceler in his little wagon. He's not a likable person. Don't try to be friendly with him. It's not nice. No. But those trees, those truffle trees, all my life I've been searching for trees such as these, the touch of their tufts and the much softer than silk, and they have a sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk, and I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I'd unload my cart. So now the cart's being unloaded. He's found something he likes. He's going to stay there a while. Here he is now, and he decides he's going to cut down a tree. See what he can do with it. In no time at all, I had built a small shop, and I chopped down a tuffle tree with one shop. And then with a great skill of skills, with great speedy speed, I took a soft tuft and I knitted a thneed. It's got a name. Need. I don't know if you know. It's not on the test, so you don't have to remember it. This is not tested on this, so you don't have to remember it. I'm sure you'd get a check plus if there was a test. The instant I finished, I heard a great zump, and I looked and I saw something pop out of the stump, and the tree that I chopped down was sort of a man. Describe him, that I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with the voice of a sharpest and bossy. That could be me. That don't sound right. Could be. You're not talking to him, though, right? Even if you see him in the street, you don't say hi. Okay. Here he is talking to the Onceler. Mister, he said, with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorex. Now we found the Lorex. I am the Lorex, and I speak for the trees. And I speak for the trees, for the trees have no tongues. And I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset, and he shouted and puffed, what's this thing you've made out of my tuffle tuff? Wants to know what this thing is. Inquiring minds want to know. He's describing it to the Lorex. You see back there? You see it? I worry about you back there because you're kind of out of the, you know what I mean. Look, Lorex, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree and I'm doing no harm and I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed, and the thneeds find something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat, but it has other uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for a carpet, for a pillow, for sheets, for curtains, for covers, and bicycle seats. The Lorex said, sir, you are crazy with greed. There are no one on earth who would buy a thneed. You know what happens when you say something like that, right? Because here goes this guy. He's not a dope, but he bought the thneed. I didn't know if you knew that. By the very next minute, I proved he was wrong, for just at that minute, a chap, I call him a chap, that's quite a name, huh? Chap. A chap came along, and the thoughts that the thneed I had knitted was great, and he happily bought one for $3.98, and I laughed at the Lorex. You poor stupid guy. He shouldn't say that. Did he? No. Okay. Just checking. You never can tell what some people will buy. P.T. Barnum said that. P.T. Barnum said there's one born every day. Well, he didn't say it, but he took credit for it. Some people can take credit for things they didn't say. You guys would never do that, would you? You'd never do that. Take credit for something you didn't say. You wouldn't do that either, right? No. I repeat, cried the Lorex, I speak for the trees. I'm busy. I told him, shut up if you please. You're not supposed to. Shut up if you please. Not supposed to say that. I rushed across the room and in no time at all built a radio phone. I put a quick call and I called my brothers, my aunts, my uncles, and I said, listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast, take the road to North Nitch. Turn left at Weehawken and a sharp right at South Stitch. Well, that's an easy direction. Could you follow that if I wrote that down? Okay. I don't know sometimes. They have these things now. You talk into them and they'll tell you how to get there. Do you have that? Who's got that in their car? I know you're out there. You got that in your car? You've got it in your car? I've got one in my car, but it keeps getting lost. He keeps saying things to me like, you are not calculating correctly, you know, things like that to me. Here they are. So I've got it in the car anyway. And someday I'm going to learn how to work it, but there's no hurry. I'm not going. Where am I going? And in no time at all, the factory I built in the Onceler family was working full tilt, and we were knitting thneeds, just as busy as bees, and the sound of the chopping of the truffalo trees. He's having a wonderful time chopping up them. Up. It was like Henry Ford when he put up the, decided to make automobiles on a conveyor belt. Here he is. Then, oh, baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now the chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented a super axe hacker with wicked off tuffler trees at one smacker, and we make thneeds 4 times as fast as before, and the Lorex, he didn't show up anymore. Things are looking pretty good now. I'm making a lot of money. Maybe he wasn't such a bad guy after all. Maybe we could say hi to him. Tell him we're related. Put us in the will. Put you and I in the will. By the next week, he knocked in my new office door, and he snapped, I'm the Lorex who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please, but I'm also in charge of the Babaloots who play in the shade of the Babaloot suits and happily lived eating tuffalo fruits. Now, thanks to you, You're hacking my trees to the ground. There's not enough Tuffala fruit to go around, and the poor Babaloots are getting the crummies because they have gas, no food in their tummies. Oh, you could have written this. Why is he making all the money? You could have done this. Tummies. He couldn't have done that. I only told him that to make him feel good. You couldn't have. Could you have? Could you write this? No. Okay, here they go. They love living here, but I can't let them stay. They have to find food and hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, and he sent them away. I, the Onceler, felt sad, but I watched them go. But business is business, and business must grow, regardless of the crummies in tummies, you know. Boy, oh boy, here we go. They're working diligently. Is that a good word? Do you like that? Do you use that word? No. Diligently? No? Okay. It's a word. It means working very hard, diligently. I mean no harm. I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got, and the bigger my factory, and the bigger my roads, and the bigger my wagons, and the bigger the loads, and the needs I shipped out. I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north, and I went right on biggering, selling more needs, and the biggering my money, which everyone needs. Everybody needs money, right? Can't get by without it. Oh, here he is again, the old grouch, the Lorax. There was no need for him to get angry. Do you think the Lorax? No? Don't tell him. You think? Good. He should have got angry? All right. Then again he comes back, and I was fixing some pipes when the old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes, and I hemmed the Lorax, and he coughed, and he wheezed, and he sneezed, and he snuffled, and he snaggered his sneeze, and Onceler, he cried out with a crofifus croaks, Onceler, you're making such smoggerous smoke, and my poor swanny swans, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing with the smog in their throat. So if you got smog in your throat, you have evidently trouble singing. Do you sing at all? No. Well, if you do, watch out for smog. Watch out for it. Don't expect that much, but do you sing? No. Someone in this room sings. Don't tell me you don't sing. There you go. Did you ever try it with smog in the throat? Yep. And was it difficult? Yep. You see, I rest my case. This book is factual. Okay? And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. And where will they go? I don't hopefully know. But they have to fly a month or a year to escape the smog. The smog's up around here, and the poor old things. This could be you if you were in that town. Oh, this don't look too good, does it? Looks like hazardous waste. What's more, snapped the Lorax, his dander was up. What's a dander, do you know? No. It's a word, though. You've heard the word dander. No. Let me say a few words about gluppity glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, and the gluppily gluck or sloppily slop, and you do not with what's left over goo. I'll show you, you dirty old Onceler, you. Now that's not the nicest thing to say, is it? Oh, yawning. We were very busy here. We got a long day ahead of us. Long day. Things to do. Now it's dark and danky. Danky isn't a word either, is it? You ever try singing the word danky? You can't sing the word danky. Well, you can, but it doesn't make much sense. Well, we'll work on that Write that song. You're glumping the pond where the humming fish hummed. No more can you see them. The gills are all gummed, and I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk off their fins to the woefully weary and the search for some water that may be so smirky. And there they go. You don't see many fish walking down the street nowadays, not nowadays. Okay, here he is. They call you guys lucky because I'm almost done. That's why they call you lucky. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad, and I yelled at the Lorax, now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap, yap, and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering, 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 and biggering. See how those words kept getting bigger? That means he really means it. Turning more tougher trees into thneeds with everyone needs. Oh. You didn't think I saw that word, did you? You said that he didn't see that word. Uh-oh. See, things like trees. In Europe, they used to heat the houses with cut down trees. Then they ran out of trees, so then you have to, then we got oil. Do we have oil now? Is there any oil left? There's oil left. That could be on the test, so. Okay. And the very moment we heard a loud whacks, and from outside the fields came a sickening smack, and the axe in the tree. Then we heard the tree fall, the very last tuffler tree of them. Oh, you got, when you're hot, you're hot. You got it. And they're all going home. See, that's what happens when you're out of work. What do? You go home if you can get there. Enough gas in your car. No more trees, no more needs, no more work to be done. So in no time at all, my uncles and aunts and everyone all waved goodbye, and they jumped into my cars, and they drove off away in the smoke-smuggered stars. And now that it's all left near a bad, smelly sky, was my big, empty factory, the Lorax and I. And there they are all by themselves, but the Lorax is not going to be. Remember now, the question is what happened to the Lorax, and now we may not know where he goes, but we do know now he's going to go. The Lorax said nothing, just give me a glance, and he gave me a sad, sad backward glance, and he lifted himself by the seat of his pants, and I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of the place, although the hole in the smog, without leaving a trace. So he made a clean getaway. That's the crooks use that. You ever see it? Do you know any crooks? No. Well, if you knew one, they'd say, if they escaped, they'd say, I made a clean getaway. Here we are, we're back to where the fellow came upon them, the young person came upon them. And then all the Lorax left here is this mess, was the small pile of rock with one word, unless. That's the word that's on there, unless. Let's see if I can find, here we are. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. That was a long, long ago. But each day since that day, I've been here and I've worried and worried away through the years while my buildings are falling apart. I'm worried about it with all of my heart. See, once in a while I can skip a page. You won't even know it if I skip a page. Because there's no test, you don't care. But I gotta get the pages right at the end. Otherwise, there's no ending. Have to have an ending. But now, said the Onceler, now that you're here, The words of the Lorex seem perfectly clear, unless, that's the word, remember now. Not on a test, but it's the word. Unless someone likes you and cares a whole awful lot and something is going to get better, it's not. You got to do something here. Oh, this is where you want. Okay. That's why they call you guys lucky. This is the last page. The last page. Last page. Raynham Giants. Watch out for concussions, you guys. Raynham Giants, watch out. Don't, with the helmets. Careful with the helmets. So Ketch calls the Onceler and lets something fall, and the Tuffler seed, it's the last one of all. You've been charged with the last of the Tuffler seeds and the Tuffler trees that everyone needs. Plant the new Tuffler, treat it with care, give it clean water, feed it with fresh air, grow the forest, protect the axes that hack. Then the Lorex and all of his friends may come back. And that's what the person is supposed to do now. I don't know if he's going to do it. How would I know if he's going to? You don't know if he's going to. But that's what he's to do. Now, that's the end of the story. I'm going to give you one more thing. You got a minute? I'll give you one more thing. This is so matching to where you're sitting right now, because what happened was a gentleman named T.L. Edwards had this gravel removal pit here, and the new law came in, and he had to put loam, and he had to plant trees, and so that it would solidify the soil. It's another word, solidified. That's a good one. And then what would happen is it would level it off, and when the town of Raynham with a guy named Joe Betancourt, who knows Joe Betancourt? Not all at once now. You know Joe Betancourt. You heard of him, of course you did. And you read about him. I'll tell you why, because every time you go in the auditorium, you look up, and there's his name. The auditorium's named after Joe Betancourt. He negotiated to buy this land for about, 40 cents on the dollar, because he's a smart negotiator, and Edwards is a good guy. And that's why this land is here today, because it was treated properly. See, it wasn't like the Lorex. The Lorex, it wasn't treated properly. The land was treated properly, and that's why you could put the land here. So I'm going to tell you, what grade is this? Seventh? Seventh. This is I had heard now that this was the best seventh grade in the building. That's all I know is what I hear. Is that so, though? There you go. Rest my case. See, because being an old teacher and an old selectman, I got call over these rookies that are walking around out there, I get the best seventh grade, and that's you guys. Thank you very much for taking the time. I remain, what's his name? Never forget, what's his name? Thank you very much. Good class. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good class. Okay.